Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining another edition of Benfica After 90. We're about to kick off, but before we actually fully kick it off, just wanted to quickly give our condolences from all of us to the family of Andre. He unfortunately passed away recently. He was an individual that didn't interact with us, a fellow Benfiquista. Sudden unexpected event, which happened this week. And I know several people did talk with him. I've chatted with him myself a few times, but I also know a lot of people that were far closer to him. So we wanted to give our condolences first before we kick off this show. And kind of Benfica, we're all one big family. So it's, keep your thoughts and prayers for his family. Thank you so much, and let's get on with the show.
Adesso che pode acontecer na segunda. Não falta este barulho. Ou eles calam. What it is? Okay.
Just in case you don't want to. I sat here and watched because I didn't want nobody to see me. You know what I mean? But I had to see. But I didn't want nobody to see me. Rooting for the team. You know what I mean? But this is how I watch the game. I'm going to do the show, the rest of the show.
Não é? E portanto não me sinto feliz. Pelo contrário, todos os dias a levar com isto. Nas televisões e nos jornais. Não me senti feliz. Ninguém vê a verdade.
All right, another edition of Benfica After 90. We're going to do a bit of an open platform. So we got Joe and Luigi. We're also going to get a couple of guys to join us in 2 seconds here. A bit of a different show. We talked about recording a year-end kind of bit of a fun episode, kind of recapping stuff and posting it. But then all the news of George Jesus today. Figured to do it live. So I put the link in the chat. I'm going to have 2 more people join us here real quickly. So we got a full house. Hey guys, how's it going? People might be familiar with the 2 of you, but you guys had a good holidays, I'm hoping.
Absolutely. How about you?
Yeah, thank you.
I think we all got a Christmas present from the sounds of it. I don't think anyone's disappointed what we just got in our stocking.
Not at all.
I'm so happy.
Yeah,
Well, I should say that I should take that with a grain of salt. I'm happy just that the reaction, like obviously, there was some terrible stuff that happened. In terms of terrible, I mean just something that shouldn't be happening in a club where players are refusing to train and, all of that stuff going on. So in that sense, I'm happy that there was a reaction because I really don't think, regardless of how bad things had gotten, I feel like a lot of us were kind of in the school of thought. We're like, hey, the only way JJ leaves is if JJ says, hey, I'm going to Flamengo or another club. And then when all the Flamengo news came out in the beginning of the week, it was kind of like, looks like Paulo Sousa's going there, and we're stuck with JJ. And then all of this kind of happens. Even though the PZ incident started, before all of the Paulo Sousa news, it was just kind of like a weird chain of events. But I'm glad he's gone, obviously. I think we all are.
It's like a telenovela brasileira.
Yeah.
It's been all week, really.
Yeah, no kidding. And it escalated very quickly. And that's kind of, we had a couple of topics like the best moments of 2021, worst moments, best signing, best youth player, biggest shooties for the year, and anything else. But clearly the George Jesus is a topic. So we'll kick off with that. And what I'll say real quickly, I want to get you guys' thoughts, is I think most of us wanted him gone, especially if he failed against these 2 Porto matches. That was the key thing. But personally, I wanted it to be the club directing this. Like, it's, all right, if you fail, you haven't met your objectives, we're going to terminate you. Not what happened where you had the club saying, don't worry, we got his back, and the players saying, listen, we don't listen to the president, we don't listen to the directors, we don't listen to anyone who runs this team. Us, the players, dictate who stays and goes. We did it with Rustati, we did it with Lodge, and now we're going to do it with George Jesus. I'm not disagreeing that he shouldn't be gone. It's just the how. And it seemed like the club was more than willing to back him and keep him. And it was the players, as much as we got ticked off at the Almeidas and Pizzis of the world and things of the sort, I hate that it's them driving it per se. It should be leadership at the top. So that's my take. But let's get on here. I'll get you on here. Let you have your take on here.
Well, I think this is just, I'm hoping that it's the first step in a number of steps to sort of reestablish what we used to do, which is scout well, develop well, have a competitive squad where there are at least two guys competing for every position on the pitch, and hoping that that compels us on. And obviously, there's going to be turnover in the squad. We can't hold on to everybody we want, but we've really gotten away from that. And the problem, I think, since the beginning of hiring George Jesus is this: it's been a departure from what the club has done well for the last 10 years. And I think now I'm hoping that some people say, look, let's find the right coach, but let's find a coach that fits with the whole process at the club, which is, how can you have the B team playing a certain style that's completely different from the first team? How do you have that club philosophy? And then how is it that in the last few years we haven't had a real push of junior players pushing in? Because even if you look at the last season or the 2014 season where we finished, second in the Europa Liga and we had a good league season, if you look at the squad, there's at least two for every position that's challenging. There's also young guys that are getting exposure, because I think even Lindelof and João Cancelo made their season debuts there, and Helder Costa as well that year. And now I look at it and you think like, well, if João Mario is healthy and ready to go, who's going to take him out of the starting 11? Nobody, because there's nobody that's even competing for that spot. And the young guys that are supposed to be getting a chance are also left out of the mix all the time as well. So there's not even that push where, it's like we've got 22 guys here that could be all starters, and there's young guys that are hungry for opportunity. So I better play. And the performance reflected that, right? So I think I'm hoping that this is the start of something new. I'm happy George Jesus isn't our coach anymore, but I don't really feel great about a guy being unemployed.
I do. He's got a lot of money. He's not like your average Joe whose cafe went out of business, right? Like this guy, and the way he carries himself in general, I'm totally fine with him being out of a job. Because guess what? Atletico Mineiro, one of the big Brazilian teams, will pick him up in the next couple of months. This is just an extended vacation for him.
Yeah, and his behavior last couple of weeks with the whole this Flamengo thing has shown a real lack of respect for the club, I think. I mean, it's not only him though; it's the ones that allow it. That's the part that's really frustrating. Is why have we allowed this to go on this long? It should have been a very clear, he's got a contract, this is it right from the start. Not, they come over to Portugal and they're having a good time on holidays and they get invited to the Dragão and they're talking to Carvalhal and they're talking to this guy and he's still in the mix. And, it's just, you're right. I think that part is where that was the final straw for me. Trying to focus on what was happening on the field was, the constructive part. But the reality is the off-field stuff's been embarrassing.
Yeah, let's get Luis. Let me drop you into here and let you throw in your thoughts. Excitement. You like the VNU is the one the reason.
Of course, man. You know what I mean? You don't mess with the true captain. I've been hating on the guy because he hasn't been playing. He's too tired. But you know what? I don't know how much he had to actually do with it. But if it had to be someone, I'm happy that he had to be busy. I'm just optimistic. I just feel a little bit more like it's like a refresh. Like my Christmas was today due to like work commitments and all of that. So actually, like I did a full Christmas day today, and that was like the best that could have happened in the morning. I wake up and I'm like, is it happening? It is. Yeah, he's gone, and then the entire day just worked out way better because of that. I'm just happy I don't have to deal with his face anymore. I don't have to deal with his bullshit anymore. Hopefully, I don't have to deal with the 3-4 whatever. I don't want to be dealing with that anymore, especially with Verissimo out and Otamendi out as well at the Dragão. Like, come in. You've got a chance. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be our choice of coach, but right now I'm just happy that I don't have to see him. Like, sorry, I'm just happy that when I see JJ now, is not associated with Benfica. He's going to be with somebody else. And I'm like, oh, look at that. That's JJ. It's like, it's almost like I can breathe better now. I don't know. Every time you see Benfica, I'm now excited to see us at the Dragão. And even like, I don't want to think about not even getting points, but even if we were to go there and lose the game, but just have a different approach, have a new formation, have some guys from the B team coming up. Like me and Joe had a little cheeky discussion about this. Like, if I see those new faces you know, and I see this new coach coming in with a 4-3-3, or even a 4-4-2. If he wants to rock a 4-4-2, like just something different, just something fresh, something. It's a new year, you know. Like, come on, give me something to like, you know, give me something to hold on to, basically. You know, JJ's gone, and that's really that. I don't want to like. It is what it is. Like, I wish him all the best. I'm not that kind of guy to like, you know, go and do you, man. Like, go and win. You're Portuguese at the end of the day. I want you to do well. Go to Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Greece. I don't know, like some, I don't know, Olympiacos or some stuff. Win some titles, and you know, I'll be happy. Like, I don't want him to like fail or anything like that. I think it's he moves forward, but mainly we move forward. I think that's what we have to focus on.
Yeah, it's well put, well put. I'll get Brian in on this one here. Let him get his thoughts in on the whole George Jesus news, and then we'll get into some of the awards and successes for this past season.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. The breath of fresh air. I feel like our chances of beating Porto just went up tremendously. If there's a saying that's true, it's you can't live a good moment twice. JJ should have never came back. And I think it will be the same. If he goes back to Flamengo or whatever, I think he'll have a tough time again. Like, the leagues have adapted to him, his style. It's just done. Like, I think he's starting to become like Mo. Like, he's just washed up. And it was time for change at the club. That's pretty much it. It's just, it is what it is, man.
One of the things real quick.
Somebody on Twitter earlier said that say what you want about JJ, but his first time at Benfica, that was the best like football Benfica's played in like the last like 2 decades. And that was just true. Like that time with Nico Gaetan, Cardozo, like back in that day, Benfica was playing beautiful football. We were competing in Europe. We were a great team. But like his time is up, and it is what it is. Okay.
Yeah. Ironically, right, Brian?
Right.
I think one of the things that's really interesting is that there are a lot of parallels between Vieira and JJ. Like, it undoubtedly, the way that they started was great. Everyone had, you know, they had the fans' full support, whether it was JJ at the beginning or LFE taking over, right? But then, you know, one way or another, whether it was the club's decision or their own decisions, they just didn't know when to leave at the right time. Like JJ, obviously, the way he left the first time, you knew that anything short of, you know, winning every competition under the sun the second time around, there were still going to be fans that had this sour taste in their mouth, right? LFE, obviously, I'm not even going to go there. But one of the things for me that I think will be really interesting is to see the second time around what happens with Verissimo, who was named, obviously, the replacement for Jorge Jesus. So real quick to anyone in the chat that doesn't know, the manager of the B team, Nelson Verissimo, was named the interim manager until the end of the season. They're not going to pick someone up right in January, it seems like. So I'm not expecting to hear really anything, any news on this until maybe April or May. And in my opinion, at least, then probably getting an official signing in the summer when the season's ended. But he's currently coach of the first place youth team. So he also took over for Bruno Lage and coached the first team for 6 games at the end of the 2020 season. So after the COVID outbreak and we lost to Santa Clara at home and Marítimo. So after those kind of little mistakes, he came in, coached the team to 4 wins, a draw, and then his exit was the loss to Porto in the Taça de Portugal, where he famously said, okay. And that's just something that, you know, the attitude at the time was something that kind of led to a little bit of animosity personally for me with him. But I really think, just real quick gut reaction, I do like that he's a guy that, I mean, he gave Gonçalo Ramos his first start for the A team. He scored 2 goals in that end of 2020. And I think that he's a guy in general that has been building up his confidence all year with the youth squad. He has this formation that hopefully he'll eventually try to adapt the A team to, right? And I think it's someone that in the meantime, we all know, unfortunately, we've seen today, right? He's a real Benfiquista. So it's something that obviously JJ never was. So it's nice to also see that kind of breath of fresh air coming to the club.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference. A lot of comments in the chat, so I just want to make sure a lot of this doesn't get lost. But there was a good one, which was around the what happened. So very high level of details that most of us have heard is we lose to Porto in a very humiliating fashion. We could have lost by a lot more. It was truly an embarrassment, especially being up a man for 45 minutes. And the way the story goes is Pizzi was ticked off, as everyone should be. I guess he said something, I don't know what was said, that George Jesus didn't like him saying. He got pissed off with him. And in typical George Jesus fashion, he needs someone to blame. Remember, we lost the Taça final, and it was Cardozo. He was the evil man, even though the guy was one of the best players Benfica's ever seen as a striker in terms of what he did. He's very quick to, once he doesn't like someone, whether it be a top guy like Cardozo, a guy like Nolito, it doesn't matter who it is. He just is nasty about the way he goes at attacking a player. And I guess that's what he did then the following training day or one of the training days this week. He's like, Pizzi, you don't train with the squad. You're off to the side. And the players sided with Pizzi and said, fine, he doesn't train. We don't train. Go fly a kite. And you could tell like they were frustrated. And this supposedly happened after George was just having talks with Flamengo. So, if you're telling us as players to put our commitment, yet you're on the side trying to negotiate your way out the door, it's not real leadership. So I don't like that the players are the ones driving this, but I also kind of understand it to a certain respect. And I never saw Rui Vitória or Lage or heard of either of those guys negotiating contracts at other clubs and the players quitting on them then. So it's not to make excuses. I still despise how it was done. But there was a question, so I'll throw it out to Luigi, let him answer. Question of, is Cebolinha going to follow Jorge Jesus to Brazil? Or is he saying at Benfica? I'll find out who said it. But what's your quick take on that one?
I don't think he'll be going anywhere, at least not until the end of the season. Because I don't think we should be getting rid of anybody right now.
Nope.
Especially with the uncertainty of the coach that we're going to have. I think anybody could be a potential starter, right? You're going to change formations. I don't see him leaving. I mean, if somebody comes in and gives you 25 million or 20 million for him, I wouldn't be mad, but I wouldn't want to see anybody leave now. Just before I just wanted to say something. One thing I wanted to say though is how much. I mean, he hasn't even been playing, right? Pizzi. I know people say that Pizzi, he didn't want Pizzi to train, and if that was argument after argument with Pizzi and stuff, and then it's like, okay, Pizzi, you're out on the team, sell him, sort of thing, and then all the players sort of turn on JJ. I don't think there has to be more to it, surely, because if you said that Otamendi did that, or even Vertonghen, or even Odi, somebody that has been playing games for the past this season, I believe it. But Pizzi, my man's coming off the bench every now and then now. He's got a big he's 21 of Benfica, right? But he was not anymore. So for that to happen, there must be something there. Players, I think that was it. Okay, look, no more.
I think it was a combination. It was a pile of stuff.
Yeah, it has to be.
And because him and Almeida are tight, and the other guys are tight, he says enough's enough. And there's a bunch of guys that are fed up, and a couple other guys say Almeida jumps in quickly, or some other guys are right now talking out of our asses. But the reality is, when you're that fed up, and there's that many people fed up, you don't see an entire squad quit on a manager because Pizzi decides to quit. There's a combination.
Yeah. If I may,
Go ahead, Brian.
You knew it got bad when what's his name, Pedrinho, went on that podcast and he was like, "Oh yeah, JJ insults you, all this other crap," and when he says, "Oh, I've tried to get Cebolinha to try to leave Benfica," you knew it's bad when former players say that. Yeah, the coach is an asshole.
And one of the things to me is I kind of jokingly was saying oh, at least when. And yeah, actually, I'm going to touch on Josh's point real quick. I think for us as fans, we've kind of forgotten a little bit about Pizzi, right? Just because, and when I say forgotten, he's not playing, so he's not an Otamendi. He's not seen as one of the true leaders of the team. I kind of agree, right? But in the locker room, it's totally different. The relationships these guys have off field, like Seth, Weigel, and Taarabt being best friends. That's not something you'd ever put together if you didn't like know that they got invited to Weigel's wedding, right? So there are small things like that where us as fans, we're not like in that circle, right? But PZ, Andre Almeida, Grimaldo, one of the things I really like to do is when they release pictures of training, right? The Benfica account, for example, today released them. If you notice, you can see like the groups, right? And you can kind of tell who's friends with who. So you always see PZ and Grimaldo joking around together. You see all the Brazilians talking to each other, right? So that's probably another reason why Pedrinho and Everton had such a close relationship. But to me, one of the things that I think will be interesting, right? That aside, from the weight that PZ holds in the locker room, is to see what happens now with Verissimo in terms of those players that didn't like JJ. So I think immediately, I was actually talking with Aruda today about some of the guys I think this will have an immediate impact on. And to me, the obvious one has to be Everton, right? Even a Weigl, who, let's be honest, trying to learn a language and then having whatever JJ speaks thrown at you is just not easy. Chuck, I bet, is finally going to be able to understand someone talking to him in training, which will be a breath of fresh air. So in all seriousness, this team and Jan Vertonghen, you think Vertonghen understands what JJ's saying? No way. No chance. So one of the things for me, seriously, in terms of just getting your message across, right? Like it's going to be a comfort to this team because let's face it, look at the team, look at the starters. How many are Portuguese? Right? You have from the back, Odie's been here for a while, but still, there's nothing like hearing it in English for some of these guys. So Odie, Jan, Vertonghen, right? You look at them right away. You look at Gilbert was probably the only one that truly understood JJ, right? Because they were boys back in Brazil. But yeah, I'm just really excited, man. Like Luis said, this game Thursday was almost like a drag because I really thought even before knowing that we lost Grimaldo, like without Otamendi and Darwin, I thought our chances were slim to none because they have the most heart on the team, and you need heart to beat Porto, especially in Porto at the Dragão, right? So this kind of gave me a breath of fresh air, and I'm excited now for Thursday, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, I want it to be a win, and I hope the team fights. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping for like a new coach bump, like sometimes you get. I'm hoping that now that the players have clearly been the ones that have made their mark when it comes to who should leave and who should go, that they step up and do the work. Because I think now it's on them until the new manager comes in to take responsibility, right? So the one concern I have is that this isn't the first coach that there's been talk about the players revolting against, right? And there's been a lot of talk about that Pizzi-led cabal that got rid of Rui Vitória, that got rid of Bruno Lage. And I'm still somebody who thinks Bruno Lage shouldn't have been sacked because he won a title from 7 points behind. And yes, we lost that second title due to COVID. But, well, I'm going to say due to COVID. I don't think that it was necessarily fair to sack him as a result. But there was, talk at the time about there being an unsettled locker room. And again, now we know it was an unsettled locker room this time because, refusing to train is a pretty clear marker. So I don't know. I mean, it's on them now. Like, it is their responsibility to step up and come out and play. And, that game last week, they were asleep for the first 3 minutes and they were down 2-0, right? Pretty quick. I don't know how we lost possession and then suffered a goal within the first minute. Like, to me, that's just unacceptable. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what their reaction is going to be. I think that I don't disagree with Nelson there. The play did drop. I don't know how much that had to do with COVID and the break, because obviously, other teams benefited from the break, being able to recover some injured players, etc. But let's not go over that too much because really we want to talk about here and now. I think it's on the players. Like I said, I'm getting repetitive now, so I'm going to stop. But yeah, I think it's on them tomorrow or Thursday night to do the business. There's no more coach to blame, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very much on. They're the ones who wanted him out. They got him out. Now put up or shut up. And there's not going to be much excuses. I think Rui Costa, this is for what happened with Rui Vitória and Lage. There's a lot of blame that can kind of go around with Luis Vieira, how he's running the organization, choosing not to make investments. There was always a lot of talks that he wanted to bring George Jesus back. So it's just waiting for the right moment, in a sense, was always the talk. But that's not here or now. The fact is, you have a brand new president. This is his first time actually dealing with a changeover. George Jesus wasn't his guy per se, right? He was at the club when George was selected, but he wasn't the man pushing the button. So now it's him, and because I would hope, because he was a former player and he's not that far detached from the squad, that he's having a serious chat saying, guys, you better show up. I'm going to be out on the market for a new manager, and you guys got to show up who wants to stay here. And at the end of the day, if let's say Almeida's not good enough, Pizzi's not good enough, if I was Rui Costa, I would take advantage of it and dump these guys in January if possible. If there's a few ways that, like Almeida, you're not going to lose much from getting rid of Almeida. Pizzi, to a certain extent, you can, but you want to give a new manager that comes in a clean slate. And you need to send a message as a president to say that we run this club. You know, the socios put us in power. We have directors. We're going to give you guidance on where to go. And if we're saying back the manager, like let's say back Lodge or back Rui Tadia or even back George Jesus, go and do your job. We're paying you to do your job, and we'll figure this out in the next transfer window or next break or next season. To have players quit on a manager shouldn't be acceptable. So I really do hope there is a situation where Rui Costa makes an example, whether it's throwing Pizzi and Almeida out or a couple of these guys that we've talked about before getting rid of, because they are like Pizzi still has some to offer, but not as much. Almeida's completely toast, in my opinion. And just try to make it a big shift, right? That's the biggest thing. Any other
underline the fact that like this club was made for, you know, the problem started 18 months ago because this club was made for re-election, right? Like that's the problem. So yes, let's see Pizzi go to TFC just like
they got a really good signing today, so it's that'll be quite exciting. I need a Portuguese guy on TFC.
Yeah. So I think that's the other thing is I'm glad they didn't announce a new coach, and I'm glad they've said Verissimo to the end of the season because I'm hoping it's a reset and let's go. I'm the president. I've got my new director, whether we like him or not, whether he knows what he's doing or not remains to be seen. But now we're going to rebuild because, you know, I don't know if 18 months ago Vertonghen was really that smart of a signing after all. You know, like for where Benfica's at and where we're going to go. I know he's quite good, but, you know, where we are as a club and what we're looking to achieve, is he the smartest signing if you have limited budget for wages and all the rest of it, right? So, you know, I think that's the other thing that I can't get over that really frustrates me is just how short-term this squad was built and how long-term we're being saddled with it, right?
Exactly. Go. I'll let you, Joe.
One of the things that I kind of think of is when you look at like the squad makeup, right? So the B team has nothing to do with it because you never know when you're planning the A squad, right? At least you probably should have an idea, but you never know for sure who were going to be the guys in the B squad that will be able to come up or the U system or whatever it is, right? U23s, depending on the club. But when you look at like our striker strength and like the winger strength and just how loaded we are in terms of the I'm not saying talent, right? Also to an extent, yeah, talent, but just the bodies we have up front. And then you look at our right back situation and it's like, sorry, I love Felipe Cruz, right? Like he's a great guy. But do we have like a solid right back? Have we ever had one since Nelson Semedo left? So, like, the construction of the squad to me is something that I'm curious to see. And I think that I don't expect anything to happen right in January. Let's just be frank. I think the thing for me that I'm expecting to see is to see Verissimo take this opportunity to play all the guys in, you know, the formation that he expects to go forward. Or, you know, I expect Rui Costa in RPP too to get involved saying, hey, listen, we're going to look to bring in a new manager that fits X style. Right, they should get that message across to Verissimo as quickly as possible. It probably should fit the 4-3-3, right? I personally like that formation, but whatever, to each their own. But I think the whole point is, I want to see this as like a time where he's still trying to win games, right? But there should be short leashes on guys. You shouldn't have Darwin or any of the strikers go more than 5 games without scoring, and then or like, you know, assisting or just going ghost pretty much, right? Like we saw last season. And not seeing them get benched for Henrique Rouge from the B team or Gonçalo Ramos, who I expect to get a lot more time. Injury, the defense obviously is the biggest one that we look to. I don't want to see Andre Almeida starting at center back, especially if we go with 2 in the back, right? If we go to a flat back 4. I don't want to see a period in a back 3. I think that Morato should be there. I think if Otamendi's out, which is the case for the game on Thursday, I think it should be Vertonghen, Morato, and either Ferro. I think Ferro honestly deserved it. Otherwise, I'd say Tomas Tavares, but Tomas, you know, kind of young for his first game to be the Clásico in like a real situation, right? So I'm just really excited to see the different combinations that come out and to see how players react in general. Ishmael, that's true. We'll try to get the WhatsApp this weekend. Actually, I'll make sure that happens. But yeah, to kind of finish things off here, my biggest thing is I'm excited to just see which players turn it on. Is Everton going to turn it on, or is he just a sip, like they like to say? See what happens.
Exactly. So, and we can go on all day about George Jesus, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I think one of the big goals was to kind of cover off 2020. It's not the end of the season; it's just the end of the year. Hopefully everyone had good holidays. Whole idea we were going to do a recorded video for this. We're doing it live. We're just have a little fun, right? So if you look at the calendar year of 2021, and I'm gonna, because we got quite a bit of people, I'm gonna bounce it around a little bit, and I'm gonna get Luigi on this one. If I
He froze a little, huh?
I wasn't sure if it was me or Mario, so I was like, "Fuck! What if he's asking me a question now? I don't know what he's saying."
So I think what the plan was, we have 6 categories more or less that we want to go over.
Yeah.
But the first one, I'll let Luis kick it off, right? While Mario's going down, is what is your best and worst moment of 2021? So not this season. I'm talking from January 1st to December 28th, right? We get to take away that last Porto game.
Benfica related, yeah.
Please, yes.
Damn, that's like, yeah. I mean, I'd say worse. I mean, maybe it's because it's recent, but losing at Dragão 3-0 was pretty up there, man. Just because I knew that we weren't playing good football. I knew that we were. I didn't think we were going to lose. I didn't think that. But anyway, just wasn't great. It just wasn't great. It was all very quick. Within like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're down 2-0 and you think like, well, what's going on then? Like, what's the point? You almost want to just switch it off and go, I'm going on FIFA. I don't want to watch the rest. But yeah, best moment. I mean, come on, like beating Barcelona 3-0. Come on, like that's. And if this is gonna bite me in the butt, no, I haven't got it done yet. I promise you, I will do it. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not something that is only up to me. It's up to other people, and apparently, everyone's freaking booked up. So, but no, that was it's one of those dreams that you say, we're gonna beat them 3-0, and then when it happens, I remember the third goal, I was there on the like just disbelief that we beat. I don't care. But Barcelona's on the same team. I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't care. It's Barcelona. When we look back in 2060 or whatever, right? We're gonna look back and go, hey guys, remember that time when we beat Barcelona 3-0? It's just that's what's gonna be, like
you hang your hat on that one.
When we so that's my best moment. Yeah, worst moment is gonna be against the goal.
All right, so I guess that's how we'll start. Worst moment and best moment, pitch related moment. That works. All right, man. Let's Joe, you get yours. So
I'll be kind of quick because I know we got some guys, and in the chat also we want to hear what you guys have to say for best and worst moment. I see some people going along. My best moment, I'm gonna pinpoint it to Darwin's first goal in the Barcelona game, because you came into the game not knowing what was going to happen. And to see that play from a guy where, we've been rooting for him, right? Like that was kind of him pushing out of his shell a little bit. It seemed like he broke out in the Europa League, but that was the Europa League. He, could score goals against the 4-man Belenenses, right? Like all jokes aside, the whole point is like, that was the game where it's like, wow, Darwin, like I actually see what Real Madrid was talking about last winter. Like there's something in this kid. So for that and some other reasons, right? Like that was my favorite moment, the best moment for me. But my worst moment, man, that loss to Arsenal. It took a lot out of me because you were so close, and it just hurt so much because you had it, and that Arsenal win. Not to be that guy, right? But that's a banter win for a lot of us as well. Anyone that has, I feel like everyone has at least a handful of Arsenal friends, so. And that's something that Arsenal not being in Europe for the next 5 years, all jokes aside, right? Like it's something that they'll have over us. So the same way we'll have it over Barca for a little bit, Arsenal will have it over us. But more importantly, that was like the beginning of the end. I felt like after that match, it felt like there wasn't much to play for. We weren't, really in it in the league. Sporting was still undefeated. And yeah, man, that was definitely my worst moment. That put like a pit in my stomach. And just thinking about it, I saw a JJ kind of recap video the other day, and that Aubameyang goal was in there. And yeah, that's it for me. How about you, Brian?
For me, the best moment, probably the Barca game. Either that or the PSV game. going like 75 minutes without conceding down a man, and especially Verissimo, who was like playing out of his mind at that time. It was just insane. That was like one of those moments that you're like, damn, this is Benfica. Another one of those moments was like going 75 minutes against Bayern and not conceding. And you're like, damn, que orgullo. And then the last 15 minutes is like, the fuck just happened? The worst, I probably have to agree, that Arsenal game. Like, I have, dude, one of my college roommates is like a huge Arsenal fan. After that game, he FaceTimed me. He was going bananas. He was like, your club stinks. I was like, man, where have we gone? Losing to Arsenal like that was just horrible. Yeah.
Austin, how about you, Mario?
For me, I'll start with the worst. For me, it was kind of around the same time as you were saying the Arsenal one, but it was actually just a little bit afterwards, the Taça Portugal, the Braga. Because, yeah, just like, screw up the league. We spent all this money, didn't get nothing in the league. Then we screwed up with Arsenal. And then we have the Taça Portugal. At least, win us a damn cup, give us something to hope for next season, and then you lose it to Braga. And it just was like so gut-wrenching, because you're like, wow, after an entire season, after all that spend, we got nothing to show for it. Seriously, this is the best we could do. And I'm going to echo, just because Barcelona, you beat them 3-0. It's a pretty cool win. It had you a lot of hope that, maybe the Jorge Jesus can turn it around. Man, little did we know a couple months later, but it gave us enough hope that he was at that cusp of redemption for failing as bad as he had done the previous year, right? So, yes, that's the next one is going to be the off the field one, but let Jason go, and that's coming up. This is on the pitch, best and worst moment. I'll pass the buck. Pass the torch, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Sure. So I think best moment, Barca game, I agree with you, although the false hope that it gave and what's resulted since then makes me wonder if maybe I should be searching a little bit deeper into the year to find something else that was better. And it's funny that you mentioned the Braga final, because that's exactly what I was thinking too, because we lost everything. And, I really thought we went into that final with a chance to at least get something, because you remember way back when we'd gone however many years without trophies, and we finally won the Taça de Portugal with Jose Antonio Camacho as the coach, and like that really felt like we were back. It was a first step towards the recovery of the club. I thought we win the Taça, and that is going to catapult us, right? And that final was just so poor, and the way it ended with the whole scuffle and the fact that like nobody was properly punished for what happened, and it just felt like they get away with whatever they want with us, whoever it is. Everybody enjoys it, and we can't even find ourselves. Is that his favorite or his least favorite?
That's a great question.
Yeah. Just like we can't even get that Raiva to play in that game to get something out of a season that we deserve more from. I don't understand how we didn't translate that. So though, yeah, I mean, beating Barca was awesome, but I think we beat bigger clubs when we've had less available. When we beat Liverpool way back when, and Man United and Tottenham quite handily, we were maybe not as strong as our opponents in those games. Whereas at Barca this time around, I think we could have won 5 or 6-0. So I think that's what I liked the most about the match, is that there was more to be had that day.
Perfect. Okay, so the next little bit here, it was more like, because I was on the pitch. The off the pitch was, I think the Luigi Fieta, unless anyone says otherwise, in terms of the governance of the club, him getting his ass booted out. To me, the fact that you had the police step in, it took the authorities to drive him out. But we can touch on that in a bit, but I don't know if anyone has anything different on that side. But what I want to touch on also on the off the pitch, connecting the off pitch to on the pitch, was the transfer market. So we got a window transfer market and a summer transfer market. And I'll kick it off saying, like, the player I think that we signed that we were most excited about, which unfortunately we're not seeing much of now, is Lucas Verissimo. I think he was the most standout player from last winter till today in terms of signings. But I'll bounce back to Luis so we keep the circle going. What do you think of like off the pitch kind of moments? And then transfer, I guess you could say.
Transfer, I fully agree with you, bro. I fully agree. Like it was one of those signings that we were. I mean, personally, I was so hoping to get it done. I was like, please get this guy, and we sort of. I mean, the team has been playing crap, but we miss him. You know, we do miss him. I wouldn't say he came in and made a difference straight away. He had a couple of games where I wasn't too sure, but man, once he starts going, he starts going. So yeah, uh, I mean, he's got a bad injury, but I can't wait to have him back. And now the coach shares his last name, so surely they got to be family. They're related somehow. You know, it's got to be, you know. Um, I don't know, man. Like, put me on. I don't know. Somebody can go first because I'll take me a good minute or two to think about. So yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
I don't
Joe,
have any
you wanna go
off
first?
field. I don't have any off field stuff, but in terms of like new signing, I think it's tough. I too think I kind of got bought into the hype of Rismu, right? Like he ends up wearing that swimming cap in the semifinal of the Libertadores and like is going crazy, right? Like there was just kind of like this myth around him too, where we didn't know if we were going to sign him. There were so many players that slipped through our fingers. He obviously didn't, so he's definitely my best signing in terms of like the future too, right? But someone else for a best youth prospect breaking through, right?
Yeah, that's another one. Yep.
I'm gonna do Paulo Bernardo, and I think that's sad because we've seen him for a total of like 60 minutes, and that's my pick. But that speaks more to the last year than anything else. Hopefully next year, you know, each of us, all five of us, have different people to pick because there were so many guys breaking out. But this season, that's it for me.
Yeah. All
Let
right,
me
Brian.
just add, like,
Oh,
I
go
know.
ahead.
Sorry, quick thing. You're doing the youth, right? Like that. I saw that on the chat, and I was like, with all the respect, I haven't seen anyone to be able to have an opinion. Like we see Gonzalo every now and then come in off the bench, you know, after he's had a beer. You know, Paul Bernardo, like who? Morata came in my opinion, had a couple good games, showed what he's capable of, and then he's like, no, I don't like his shoes. Like I don't understand. Like and this is what I mean. And going back to what Ruda said, I know I'm going a bit off track here, but going back to what Ruda said earlier, and Joe, I feel when we feel a bit like refreshed, we're sort of looking forward to a game that I wasn't going to look. I'll be honest with you guys, I probably wouldn't watch that game. I'd probably put the game on a TV behind me. I put my screen here at an angle that I can watch the TV and play FIFA. And as soon as I hear the commentator say, "Oh, Benfica," I turn around because like, I wasn't looking forward to it, right? But now I'm like, you know what? Because it's not even so much the result. It's like, okay, now what are you gonna bring? You know? And as a fan, or you know, as an adepto, as a socio, if I feel like that, I can only hope that the players feel the same and they think this is a time for us to show that we are being badly managed. We had a shit person as a manager, and we can actually be better than this and given the opportunity for it. If they come out and do the same thing, then they just all need to go, you know, and then it'll be a different conversation. Then it'll be January. We'll be all drunk because it'll be New Year's Eve on all of that, and we'll be sat there thinking we need to sack everybody, and Rui Costa can also go. And that's the big if. Like if it doesn't work, and Rui Costa is just sitting there waiting for somehow to all fall together, then it needs to go as well. So I know I went like way like off the topic, but yeah. Youth, I say it here. I haven't seen anybody. No disrespect to the subject itself. It's just shambles that we haven't seen any of the players, especially with us being top. We're top, and we're playing great football, and we play 4-3-3 like everyone else. Sorry.
To me, the gap we have right now on the defensive side with the combination of injuries and now with the many with a red, like dying Simbarat. Dying Seymour Marat. We have to.
We have to. He's
you have to play, but like that was the issue to me with George Jesus. That's the guy. Because I think Bernardo. I think all these other guys, tons of promise. Marat's the guy that today we need now, kind of thing, going forward until these recoveries happen and get Almeida away from the center back position. Because once even Otamendi's off his red, that Almeida should have no business in that center back role. But going back, okay, so then like I'll toss it to Brian because he would be next up. So looking at your best signing that you kind of saw, any off the field antics outside the Lucio Vieira obviously getting the boot in handcuffs, or obviously youth signing or youth player that popped out the most for you.
I was gonna say João Mario at first because I believe like being a free
that's not a bad one.
he filled up like our position of need, which was an 8 at the midfield. But like I'm gonna have to say Darwin because in a summer when you were supposed to get Edson Cavani and you were able to just go get his counterpart from the Uruguayan national team, who's basically up next. Like if you ask any person from Uruguay who's up next after Cavani or Suarez, they're gonna say Darwin Nunez. That was a great signing. I think he showed a lot of improvement this season compared to last season. Last season he was just like looking to be a person who would assist and give a goal. Now he's like he has like what is it, 14 goals, 5 assists or something. He has like less assists than he did last season at this time, and that's positive. That's good to see.
Now the challenge with Darwin is he would have been in the summer of 2020, so you have to go like winter.
Jean Mari works.
Jean Mari works. Jean Mari works
works.
though. That's a good. Jean Mari works. That's a good signing. I like that one. Yeah.
Very good signing. For the youth, I gotta say Pablo Bernardo. I think he just has it. He has that it factor.
He's good, man. He's good.
He has that it factor. He has that João Felix like diferenciado. You can't act like I have to see more from him. Like you have to put him in that midfield, like at that 10 position. If you run a 4-3-3, you have to.
Yeah, awesome. Aruda?
So off the field stuff, I mean, I know the Luis Vieta stuff took up a lot of airtime, and a lot of people were happy about that. I think it's sad because it's not a great moment for the club, regardless. And I still think about the first sort of mandate where he changed a lot, and even the mandate as VP. That it makes me sad that he didn't know to leave on top. So it's a combination of moments. I'm really tired of Benfica not coming out and defending our team and players in the media when we're constantly attacked with any kind of force. You take, for example, the Krovinovic stuff that came out where his audio was released when he's complaining about Jorge Jesus. Like, I'm sure every player complains that way because everybody complains about their boss, but somehow that gets released and nobody defends the player from having, freedom of speech just as a basic thing. Because I think Krovi actually might have been able to help this team out as a depth center midfielder. I think it's ridiculous that, almost nothing has been said about what happened to Darwin in the last game. I mean, that was a clear red card. You can't not have your studs up and then cut into a player's foot. Like
I mean, just a yellow. It was a foul. Period. They gave the foul, but come on.
And I think, like, for example, I put this on Twitter out of frustration, but like Fabio Cardoso, when he was at Santa Clara, used to get red cards for swinging in air just before he'd have to play against one of the big three. Like, it would happen all the time, and all of a sudden now that kind of stuff goes. And there's not a peep. It's the same thing about Eduardo pushing Tarapt or whoever it was. And, just all this stuff. I'm just tired of it. I really wish that our club would step up and defend our players from the constant media attack. And then I guess, so best signing for me was João Mario because we've been needing a center midfield stalwart for a really long time, probably since Enzo and Matic and a bunch of others that left. Obviously, he's a different type of player, but you know what I mean, right? Like, that's the position we've needed help in. Worst signing or signing that disappoints me the most? Was that one of the ones we wanted to do? Sorry.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in Meite. I really
sucks.
thought that he was going to be good for us, and he is not good. He's not the player that he was at Milan. I don't get why that hasn't worked out. But also the fact that, like, why him and not Florentino then? What are we getting from him that we couldn't have had from Florentino? And why aren't we pushing our youth? And then, best youth, I'd love to say a lot of players. But again, I think that's the other off-field story is how we've poorly managed a lot of the players we have. Like, are you telling me Jota isn't a better substitute at left attacking winger than what we've got right now? Like, I know the Scottish League is what it is, but, still, it just makes no sense. So I'm really confused as to that. So there's the two off-field things: the lack of media, and poor management of youth. Best signing João Mario. We're signing Meite. Best youth has to be Paulo Bernardo, but we need to see more because that's a position that we're seriously lacking.
Cool,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Florentino says hi.
Which Florentino? Which Florentino?
The pool, the only one we know, Mario.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
But yeah,
So go for it, Joe. Yeah.
yeah. For the next thing you want to do you want to start us off, Mario, with biggest shooties, I should say? And then the best player for you so far in 2021?
The biggest shooting. So you know what? Let's give someone else a start. Let's give someone else. You know what? Let me throw Brian popped up for a bit. Let's throw
I like
Brian on there. Let's reverse it the other way. Let's biggest shooties of the 2020 year and your best player for the 2020 year.
So for last season or
2021 since January.
Yeah, so January, or kind of do like a calendar year.
Biggest chorizo, man. Honestly, I want to say Matey, but like I feel like he didn't have much expectations coming in. Even when we signed him, I didn't think he was supposed to be a starter. Like I seen him as like a player who was going to come off the bench. Like I didn't think he was going to play over Weigl. I didn't think he was going to play over João Mario. He wasn't going to play over any of those guys. But he's just off the bench. He's been trash. But like the worst, I'd have to say, probably Everton, man. Like his hype was unreal, and he just hasn't done anything, which is sad. But like, hopefully now he can get better. I don't know. Maybe it was just JJ who was like hindering him, but we'll see.
Cool.
And what was
best player?
Best player? Lucas Verissimo. He's a tank. He was an amazing signing. He was consistent in the back. That save he had versus the Barca game where it was like a wide open tap in and Luke de Jong, I wouldn't say he missed it. Verissimo got there. Great play.
Oh yeah, Verissimo definitely saved that, by the way. He didn't miss it. That was 100%. Yeah, that saved the game. That actually would have been a good moment for within the match too. But awesome, Brian.
Yeah, we'll have to get a ranking of the shorties. We'll do a proper one. But I need Mello in on that one because Mello will definitely want to be part of the ranking.
We have like the list of who we gave out for shitties and everything like that. We need to add them all up. But one of the things for me for biggest shitties, I really think it's hard for me personally not to give it to Everton just because, again, the hype was there. He played okay at the beginning of the season and then just fell off. We said maybe it was rust, all that stuff. So he gets my Choriz. Gilbert, that beautiful, beautiful man. If he didn't turn it around, he obviously would have gotten it for me, right? But I'm going to give it to Everton. And then my best player, I really think it's Weigl for me. Obviously, Rafa, has been popping off this season, but I just think the consistency that we've seen from Weigl, when you look at the team, obviously, after the Porto match, right? Like, we're like, burn the whole lineup. But between him and Otamendi, for example, a guy like that, like that's another person. But I just think Weigl had such a tough 2020, like such a tough start to his time at Benfica, that seeing him turn it around was just great for me. So that's kind of like a personal best player.
Remember when he joined us and it was like maybe a week after he joined us, he got struck by a rock?
Oh, yeah.
When I seen that, I was like, "Oh my god, this
him
is
and Zivkovic.
Welcome to Portugal."
Yeah, like who's gonna want to come here now? But like he turned it around, and it was just so beautiful to see.
Yeah, so that's it for me. What about you, Luis? I see your arms up. You look ready.
No. So, Chorizo. I was gonna say Everton as well because I tell you one thing, and this is gonna be an odd one, but I'd give it to Elton, right? Because my man, like I don't know, like I never rated Odie that much, right? Especially when Elton came out of and started playing. He's taller. He looks like he's gonna come out on these crosses, gonna connect every ball. Huh?
The milkman.
Yeah.
The milkman, exactly. This guy, and then all of a sudden, bing bong, where's this guy gone? Like, what's happened to you? And I was actually kind of happy to see him. I'll be honest with you. I was happy to see him against Porto. I was like, okay, we haven't seen you, brother. Come out and show us what you got. Please don't stay where you are. Like, don't, So for me, he's been the chorizo, just because I expected more, right? I mean, the best. I mean, come on. How are you gonna pass on Darwin? He's just. I'm sorry, man. Like, I like a striker that strikes. And that's what he's been doing. Rafa's been incredible. Like and I also said, I hope people remember. I said this was going to be the season that Rafa like showed up and then left. All right. I hope I got the first one right, not the latter. But anyway, whatever. Darwin. I mean, like you said, the goal against Barcelona proved that he can score against big teams. Well, big, really, middle table. But no, I think he's been great. I think right now, any team in the entire world, if they play Benfica and they have to analyze 3 players, Darwin is the first. Then probably Rafa, and then after that, it really depends who's playing. But they probably analyze how to break the 3 at the back and look at Otamendi or Weigl. But Darwin is the first priority. They will go, listen, how do we stop Darwin? And then, because we don't have JJ anymore, but because if you had JJ, you spend about an hour analyzing how to stop Darwin, and then you put Yaro Mshuk up front. You go, bing bong, like, you know. That's me, though, man.
Oh man,
Mario, you want to take it away for this one?
yeah, sure. In terms of, I like the Darwin story. He's not my player, but I really like the fact of how he came on with all this excitement, started with initial goals, and then completely bombed for the first bit of 2020, and then into 2021, he slowly started finding his footing, and kind of moved it on up. So he was very close to being my player, but I'm actually gonna give it to Otamendi, just because I think it's just the fight that we're missing in terms of guys having that garra. And I love that Darwin's showing that now. I think, and this is where I think the Otamendi, him staying strong, showing that garra, showing that passion, I think it's feeding off into other guys. I hope at least it is. That's my imagination. And so that'd be kind of my call in a sense. One which is like, this is going to be kind of a lame Chorice, but I just think it's a bit of a funny one is Gabriel, man. Gabriel was still part of the squad this past season. The guy got
forgot about Gabriel.
It's so forgettable. But he did still get quite a bit of matches, like as a substitute and things of sort. And then the whole like refusing to transfer out and blah blah. And then even the season ends and we have no club. We literally go, okay, we've done our transfers, we've done everything. Here's our new players. The official Benfica website comes out, and he's not even on the website. He was just unlisted. And there was like a good couple of weeks where everyone's like, so this Gabriel guy, like, yeah, he's not allowed in training. So he's off to the B team. It's like, no.
He's just a waiter at Shimogon now.
It's like, and we really don't have any post things at the Casa de Loja for work at the moment. It's like, I've never seen a player fall off as hard as he has, especially like considering when he first came. The guy was like half decent. Like he was actually looking like, oh, this guy's got potential, got promise. Like that guy is like, it's very rare to see a guy that's fallen off as hard as he has. And you kind of look at his age. It's like, oh, you still think he has something left in him, and his career's done. He's toast. It's like,
He for me, Mario, he was actually my favorite player to watch in person when
he first came.
Because he was just like it seemed like he could pick anyone's pocket. His ball, like his service was incredible, right? He'd ping the ball from one end to the other, and then whatever, he had that eye injury where I think he scored against Guimarães or whatever for us in the Taça Liga, and then the guy was hitting the ball into the Koiv every other play. Like it was terrible. It was just his fall off. Honestly, it's just insane, and especially on a personal level, because I feel like a lot of us rated him, we liked him, and then we came to hate him. Like actually, not like him.
When he came in, he was that organizing central midfielder that we needed, and he was painting the pitch with his passes. Like the guy was the business, and he came in for not a lot of money. Like it was like a classically good signing for us. But and the season he got hurt, up until then, I thought we were like pretty much promised that title. And then he got hurt, and it really changed things, so we never really recovered. But neither did he, because he just never came back to himself. It's a bit like when Krovi got injured. Krovinovic, that season he got hurt, he was going to make the Croatian national team. He was killing it. He looked unbelievable. Another low-key signing from Stubble that really worked out for us. But then he got hurt, and he didn't really return to form as well. So, yeah, I forgot about Gabriel, to be honest. I was like, oh, yeah, him. He was amazing the first year. And now on FIFA, I'm just trying to offload him immediately. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want this guy. So
For me,
yeah, he's the first one that goes.
the biggest of fall offs was PT. Like I always say, I've never seen a player hit 30 and just become trash so fast as PT did. Because you know how soccer players have that stereotype, like, oh, he turns 30, he's old. PT turned 30 and he became terrible.
Yeah.
I remember like 2 years, like right now he's 31. Like 2 years ago, 29, maybe like 3 when he was 28. What was that season he was fighting with Bruno Fernandes to be like, he had like the best.
Oh, he was MVP.
Yeah,
he was better than French. He was better than him.
He was amazing. He was amazing. Like even I remember him scoring a hat trick versus Braga at the Luge. He was phenomenal. Like and then he hit 30 and just.
The weird thing about him is, sorry,
I'm so scared. Like Rafa is 28 now. I'm so scared Rafa's gonna hit 30, and just do the same. Almeida did it. PT did it. If Rafa does it, oh man, I'm gonna be.
I love Rafa. Don't get me wrong. Like Rafa is one of my. I love him as a player. Right, he's a small guy. Like he's just like a fun guy to root for. But for the last couple seasons, I've been saying this. It's like a guy with that speed. Right, clearly his decision making isn't what's gonna put a high price tag on him, a heavy price tag. It's gonna be his speed. You lose speed as you get older, and like eventually people are gonna be like, all right, well, he's had time to figure out this whole decision making thing, and he can't do it. So I'm like, look, we finally fooled people. I don't know if it's him or if it's just the defense, making the decisions for him. But he's finally in a place where he's giving you everything you want. So ship him out. Because honestly, a couple seasons ago, I was like, hey, listen, let's get rid of him before we lose all value because he will disappear in games. It's not like he's not a guy where, in the big games, it's like, oh, don't worry. Like at the end of the game, like Benfica's Coates, for example, right? With Sporting. He's not a guy where like you're down 1-0 and it's like, oh, don't worry. Like Rafa's going to resolve the game. Like he'll take care of it. No, you don't have that player, unfortunately, right now. And on the contrary, he's a guy that turns things off in the big games. So as we saw in Porth and some people in the chat have been saying. So I don't know. I think it's interesting, but it's definitely a good shout there, Brian, on the age thing. It's something to keep your eye on.
Pizzi really surprises me that he hasn't adapted his game at all throughout his career. I mean, he's gone from attacking winger. They tried to use him in central midfield. It didn't work. You would think a guy as he's aging and he can't rely on his pace as much, adapts his game to maybe being a second striker, maybe sitting in midfield and being an attacking center. But it's just been a total drop-off. I think that season where he was battling with Bruno Fernandes, he was, I think, the number one for balls recovered in the attacking third. The guy was all over the pitch. He was smart. He could read plays. He was incredibly useful. And then, it has completely dropped off. And he hasn't adapted to another position on the pitch where he can be useful. And it's like, maybe we shouldn't have hung on to him. Maybe we should have let him go. And I think Rafa is kind of the same idea. It's like once his pace is gone, what are we going to do with him? Because he's not going to develop into some, cerebral center midfielder or second striker or anything like that, or a false nine where his pace isn't going to be. He's just not that player, right? I think he's really about just pure pace and chaos. And if you're not playing an counter-attacking style, then it's really just about playing long ball, and that's not the style that Benfica is going to play. Additionally, I think I'm not surprised by Andre Almeida. When he came into Benfica from Belenenses, he was a defensive center mid, and he's been a utility guy since he came in, right? He's played a little bit of defensive center mid. He's played at left back. He's played at right back. Now he's playing at center back, all 100% based on physical effort, not on incredible talent. Like you remember that battle he had with Fabio Entrão against Sporting a few years back, where it was just like two guys who were sort of limited in terms of their soccer IQ that are just going to fight this thing out physically.
Or general IQ, even.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go that far because I don't know.
Entrão, we know.
Yeah,
but getting into the but did you get your picks out for your biggest shitty best player?
Well, biggest shitty, I mean, it can't be Jorge Jesus. It has to be a player. Fine. Then I'm going to say, well, I have a problem saying Everton. I know a lot of you guys are saying Everton, but is it because he's playing for this manager that he hasn't adapted, or is it because he's not good? Because the Everton that plays for Brazil, the one that played in Brazil, we're yet to really see much of him, and I'm wondering under a new manager whether he'll flourish. So I'm going to say him for now, but I'm going to reserve judgment for the last half of the year and see how that goes. Because otherwise, it's probably going to be, either Helton or Meite, because they're just. I've never seen a keeper go up for crosses like a cat goes out a yard and a string. Like just batting away at it. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
For Shadis, just real quick, Shadis is just like right now, based
yeah,
off his
right now, then
talent.
it's got to be
because we don't know the talent's there. It's not bringing it out. But.
Yeah, the level of talent should be there. And again, I don't know how Svilar is sitting on the bench when Helton gets a shot. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Give Svilar another chance, please. Free him or let him play. And then I guess best signing or best player right now, I agree with Weigl. I think he's been the most steady, consistent player. I like that he can drop in between the center backs when we're playing two center backs to help defensively. I think he plays really, really smart. Totally distracted by Reigning Entertainment's comment. And I really like his vision and passing. I think he's a player that is underrated because he doesn't do anything spectacular, but he does all the right things right.
Exactly. Yeah.
If there's one guy, I'm going to quickly throw this out there just because I saw Borsos in the chat bringing back Gedge or bringing someone back. If there is one guy, you only get one pick. That could be within a reason of possibility. It'd be extremely tough to get Gedge, but if you could get one guy in January.
And money is not an option, or we have to like within our
try like a Gedge is like the biggest stretch, I guess you could say. That you can go for. Like you don't know because I think there's a possibility. It'd be tough, but there's a possibility, right? But it'd be a very tough move to get him because I do think the guy's a lot of potential and has potentially other suitors, but maybe he is looking for a trip back home.
I'm going to co-sign this. I don't know if it's a possibility, but here's the thing. I'm assuming what's going to happen is that one of the English clubs, right, a big English club offers 55 or something big for him. But if there was any chance that you could get him, I just think that's the position. Even when you look at the youth team, right? You have Martin Neto, you have Rafael Brito, but like, and obviously Paulo Bernardo is already kind of up. Like I consider him as like this kind of flex player now. But you look at the youth, and it's like we don't have like a crazy center midfield, talent wise. But you look at the wings, you look up top, and it's like there's a ton at the youth level, and even right like at the other level when you look at But that's the thing when it comes down to being realistic. I don't think we get Renat. I don't think we get even Guedge. I don't think we get any of the old players. But we'll see what happens.
Okay, if you're to offload Pizzi, Almeida, and a couple of these other guys, and you make some room. If you got rid of Rafa for some reason, if you consider them the group that's causing a fuss, having a guy like Gedge would definitely be critical, especially if we create a void.
Were you asking what player we would want to bring back, or what player we think we want to bring in January?
Just January. Someone like off the top of your head. A quick one. Just because Boris, I saw it in the chat for Boris, so I had to.
Realistically, I wouldn't mind us bringing in Sheka from Lille, who plays with Ronaldo there, because I'd like to see another defensive center midfielder just to bring a little bit of support, particularly if we move to a 4-3-3. I think it'd be really important because we can't count on Meite. Because in terms of the other midfielders, I want to see what happens when Thiago Dantas is back, and I want to see Ronaldo Camara from the B team get a chance because that kid is unbelievable. So I'd like to see us get maybe Sheka. If not, then I think we should go after Thiago Jallo, the center back from Lille as well, because we could use some help there.
Yeah, no kidding. What about the team? Yeah, that's such a good opportunity with the kid, and given almost like no minutes whatsoever. Yeah. Just a very poorly run organization, top to bottom. That's the message of the year, in my opinion.
Real quick, Mario. Yeah, just real quick. I have been a Florentino stan. He was one of Gabriel became my favorite player to watch when we got rid of Florentino. Like I love Florentino. Don't even get me started on. He's my like golden goose, so to speak. Even when João Felix was doing the things he was doing, I just love Florentino. I'm all for recalling him because he's playing for Getafe. He's not even playing all the games, right? Not even close. He's playing more than he did when he was at Monaco, but that wasn't hard. He had to play like 2 games to beat that. I think that Florentino, I see some people saying that he's not good enough or he's not a good fit. I think that he is, first off, but I think that when you look at, you just spent $8 million or whatever Meite cost, right? You just spent that money for no reason, essentially, when you have a guy there. So sorry to cut in Mario, but I just saw the calls for Florentino, and I'm all about bringing him back in January. And honestly, if Luis moves down for it, I think it's a possibility, depending on whatever the terms are there with Getafe.
It depends on kind of budgets. The attacking mid position, the 10, when Joel Mati is on his day and he can distribute the ball forward, great. But that's far and few in between. It seems like there was an early part of the season where he seemed to have it, but that's not who he's been historically. And there is a lack of distribution to the strikers, or it just doesn't seem to work well. I know Luigi was a bit on a time crunch. He has poignant things he has to take care of, I think, from my understanding. But he, whatchamacallit, funniest moment, BA90, Galenu.
Oh yeah, the last, yeah.
We're gonna do jump to the last one. The funniest BA90 for the year of 2020. I'll let Brian go on. He hasn't said anything in a bit. What would you say of watching the show this past year? What popped to your head as something that's a goofball kind of moment or something hilarious?
Probably Melo's rant. That was hysterical. Honestly.
the question's gonna be which one.
I was gonna say the one about Porto, but the one where he put the bag over his face, that's so funny.
That was good, man. That was funny, man. I love it, man. That's a good one. Jason?
Bag over the head. The minute you said funniest, I mean, I know it just happened and I've been watching all year, but like, yeah, that was it. That was the moment for me with the big SLB and the eyes cut out. Like, it's such a North American sports thing to do, you know, like Leafs fan used to do back in the day and whoever else. I'm a big fan of that moment.
He also didn't tell us about that, by the way, for anyone that was just as much of a surprise to all of us watching.
Yeah.
Like I was losing it because I was like, oh my god, he actually did this and put the SLB and everything.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's hilarious. I think we might have a clean sweep. Luis, what would you say?
I was gonna say, man, I wasn't part of it, but I remember watching it in the morning and go, wait, what's that? Is that what the fuck? And then I just sort of fast forwarded to it I was like, what's he doing? So then I had to go back to understand what happened. And when it actually happened, I was just in stitches for 3 minutes. Just the whole thing, I was just in stitches. I think that might be other funny bits, but not as funny as that.
The Bing Bong one was a close second for me.
Bing Bong.
See, the thing is with Bing Bong, me being from the UK, I didn't get it at the beginning. I had to go and I'll be honest with you guys, man. That first night, I was lost. I was like, why do you guys find this so funny? Why is Bing Bong so funny, man?
That's my funniest moment now.
And I had to go. I got off the pod and I went online. I went on TikTok. I went YouTube, and I was like, big. And then I think I watched related stuff for a good hour, and I was like, oh, okay. So next pod, I'm there, man. Next pod, I'm there. Like a kid that just learned a new joke.
Yeah. Oh man, Joe.
Yeah, I would go with the Bing Bong, honestly, because I wasn't expecting it in that show. The first time we were saying it, the show ends with Mello right before the closing credits come in. He's like Bing Bong, right before, and it was just so perfect. I was losing it when I watched. But yeah, that's it for me. And just real quick for Gary, in terms of who we have out on loan. I'm probably going to put something, not probably, I'm definitely going to put something together at the end of the season. But in terms of who we have out on loan right now, I'll do it after Mario does his bit. Sorry, I don't want to steal the thunder.
Yeah, it's all good, all good. No, mine was, you know what, I'm going to throw mine to the Bing Bong because the bag was a total surprise. The Bing Bong was partly the inside jokes and how long that one lasted in terms of Now I'm hoping the bag becomes a recurring segment. Now we weren't kidding. We just got to make sure Mel didn't throw out the bag. I said, Mel, you got to keep that. You got to sign it. We'll auction that off for charity or something, man. We got to do something with that bag. That shit's hilarious, man. So it's pretty tight. Let me quickly play this clip. I was editing the intro earlier, so this is very raw. What I have here. This is just kind of me pulling the video, but I did a screen capture for people who missed the bag. I believe
it's the hottest amount you could get,
My
and
ears are burning. You saying
and they took it and they concentrated. They
gear, so just in case you don't want to be seen. So this is how I watch this. Like that. I sat here and watched because I didn't want nobody to see me. You know what I mean? But I had to see. But I didn't want nobody to see me rooting for the team. You know what I mean? So this is how I watch the game, and I'm gonna do the rest of the show. Just like this. So we're gonna do this. We do the fucking thing. Do the trees to the man.
let's get the shitties going. Let's get the
do
shitties,
it, baby. Let's go.
So good.
That was fucking gold, man. I changed my mind. I'm back to the back of that. That's just hilarious. So yeah, that shit was funny, man. But yeah, hopefully everyone. This is again going to be a recorded segment. We decided because of the George Rouge news, do a live, cover that off first. I think collectively across the board, people are anxious because obviously the club is not in good straits, but at the same time, there's a certain level of underlying optimism that there's a change. Whether it's going to be good or bad, we don't know. But for now, we knew things were not good. So, maybe they'll continue to be shit, but maybe they'll be good. And that maybe it'll be good is what got us feeling a little bit better, right? So,
Mario, I actually had a real quick question before I close things. So just out of the guys that are out on loan, and I'll quickly kind of summarize them, right?
yeah.
So in terms of Tomas Tavares, he's playing a lot at Basel. I don't think he's going to come back. But that's a right back position that we still haven't been able to figure out, right? Just someone to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Florentino, Getafe, I think he has a potential to come back. Within the league, you have João Ferreira over at Guimarães at right back also. I've been pretty impressed. When I was in Lisbon, I actually ended up going to my first Sporting game ever, and they played Guimarães, and I got to watch him a lot. So, yeah, I know Luis, but it was free.
Nice.
With friends. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And that was the night of the Estoril game.
Did you go to Lidl afterwards for a bit of shopping? Go to Lidl, get some chorizo night.
I went to Pindos.
Oh, Caetros. Yes.
But yeah, we have Tiago Dantas at Tondela, who's getting more playing time as well. Henrique Rouge at Aroca. But João Ferreira at Guimarães is like another shout that's interesting. Jota's not coming back from Celtic. He's definitely gone. Gabriel is still on loan at that Saudi Arabian club. I don't know if it was a loan with a purchase to buy, but he's not coming back for sure.
Is a loan with please keep him.
Yeah, it's a loan with we're actually not going to allow him entry to the country.
Do not return. Do not return.
Yeah. Do not return to sender.
But out of those names, who would you guys? Obviously, Jota's the obvious one, but realistic people, do you think we would be able to call back Florentino mainly? Is the one that I think about, but any other guys
outside of Florentino? Just because if I'm thinking of because he can play left back to Tavares. We have so many right backs. We have so many people that we can rotate with.
Left back is yeah.
It's a thing where I still think we have enough rotation. We can figure it out, but at the same time, I did like the kid. I was disappointed not seeing him. I think Florentino would be the main favorite to me. I highly doubt we're gonna recall anyone else back unless we went with
Chiquinho's not coming back from Braga either. He's been non-existent. I think that I don't know what's gonna happen to him, but he clearly doesn't fit. I feel like that's a good way to look at the squad and be like, yeah, this was a squad built for now. Just these random pieces, even within Portugal. I'm actually someone that isn't a big fan of just grabbing the best players in Portugal. But obviously, Beto's making me eat my words now at Udinese, but just a quick aside.
I see the Vinicius one. The challenge of Vinicius is a couple of highlight moments, but he's still in 14 games in Holland, I think he's only got 4 goals, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 5. Not really. I don't know how many minutes he's getting on average. I don't know if he's getting one of these the shticks where you're getting in a few 20 minutes, 10 minutes at the end of each match. I really don't know the backstory with him, but yeah, I can't see that. I can't see him coming back.
So quick question for you guys.
Sorry, it made me laugh.
So PSG has to sell a bunch of players. Would you guys bring in Julian Draxler for the 10 role if you could?
Oof.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Not on the wages that he's going to want.
Yeah, I don't
Part of
think
the problem is the wages these guys are going to command. It's just unsustainable. I mean, even if Benfica could afford 1 or 2 guys on that, I think you're just going to end up with a dressing room that is looking at 1 or 2 guys that are making 3 or 4 times as much, which is a really big problem. I think I don't know. I'd rather them put more money into keeping some of the young guys than going too crazy. I also not to disagree with you, Joe, but I think we need to do a better job of recruiting from within the Portuguese league, anyways. I mean, maybe some of our signings have been a bit shocking. Like Chiquinho didn't turn out very well, but I look at someone like Lincoln at Santa Clara, and you wonder whether that's someone who might be able to. Yeah. I'm not talking about starting 11 players. I'm talking about guys that can come off the bench. Yeah. You look at Sporting with Nuno Sancho, we gave up on how well he's been able to adapt to their system, and players like that. I think we could do a better job of who we recruit within the league. I know we have problems I don't think like the biggest problem with Beto is that he's at Portimonense, and we know Portimonense's number one relationship is with Port, so you're not going to get that player. But there are players out there that I think we could do a lot better with, and part of that is price-wise it's lower, but also just the expectations around wages. Yeah, Marcus Edwards, for example, really good shout there. Would be an interesting player for us to bring in. And there's the what's his name? He's a fullback at Guimarães. Is it
Sacco.
Sacco, yeah.
Okay.
You know, there's a guy that we might want to bring in too. So
He gets shouts from a lot of people. A lot of people.
I think the challenge right now for us though is we got actually a lot of talent.
Yeah.
All the positions, and so sometimes some of these Liga NOS guys, they're not, like you said, they're not walk-in starters. But when I look at it, we got a lot of guys that aren't walk-in starters. Plus, we got the B team. We got all these youth guys. And I almost feel like we got enough to work with. I almost feel like we need to truly clean house. I think January is probably one of the worst months to do it, unless we got anyone really desperate to buy players. But it'd be nice just to get rid of some dead weight. I am excited about some of the youth, but it honestly feels very disjointed. And then the saddest part about the situation now is unless Verissimo pulls a Lodge where he just kills it, which I don't think he will, but you never know. But even then, is he truly the future of the club as a manager to build around? Well, so you'll have right now a Band-Aid solution. Let's try to get the win against Porto. Let's stay within the title race because we can stay within the title race. And it's going to be very critical to kind of see, okay, what kind of person comes in? What's the identity they see? Because we have a lot of good pieces that fit for different puzzles, but they don't fit well together. But you get a manager that goes, okay, here's my style. Here's the parts you got that I like. Here's a couple parts that'll be good somewhere else, but not here. And start cleaning house. But I
agree. Where we started too, right? Where it's on the players now because Verissimo is not the long-term option. So it's going to be really difficult for him to come in and really impose his style and his vision. In fact, I kind of feel bad for the B team, given how well they're doing, to lose their manager. But, they'll keep on doing
it. If I was a B team guy, I'd be excited right now saying, listen, I proved my worth. We're top of the second division. You got some schmucks up there in the first division that don't want to play for the badge. They have no passion. He knows phone numbers and kids to call to fill in positions. And I'd love to see that. I like a little bit of the main guys. When Brulash came, the nervousness he caused for the main guys by bringing up these kids and these kids killing it, forced the other guys to work hard, saying, hey, your position's not guaranteed. We got other options. And maybe chop down the entitlement a little bit, which would be kind of nice to see. And then he gives a new manager to come in and say, listen, you got some good old talent. You got some new pieces that we haven't figured out what to do with. We got all these young kids that clearly look like they can do something. It's your choice, and all the guys now got to train their asses off and prove their worth to stay on the 11, right? So
totally.
But that's all top down. You need the direction. I kind of question if it's there.
Something interesting that Josh brought up. I know Josh actually on Twitter and stuff too is big on the B team, right? And Luigi actually, we talk about the B team a decent amount. He loves Mbalo, but Ronaldo Camará was a guy who they weren't sure that they were going to re-sign last year when his contract came up. They extended him. The club never officially announced it, which also I thought was odd. But whatever, I guess Vieira wasn't available in his tracksuit that day. But for me, right, Camará wasn't in the starting or wasn't available today at all for the squad. So that's someone else. I'm not sure if we'll see him in the Convocados against Port. I think it's honestly a little bit early. I think he is your future number 10. I don't, and when I say it's early, I personally at this point,
man, I don't care.
Yeah, I personally don't. I think you come up Porto.
Sorry, man. Sorry, you
go ahead. I want to hear it.
No, I'm just saying you come up Porto with these kids that they're angry for they want it, man. They Camará, Mbalo, these guys running in the midfield. They'll be imagine that. You're playing the B team and your first game is against Sport, and you think they're gonna run like dogs because first of all, most of them will feel the shirt better than bloody Everton and all of that. It's your first chance, proper chance in the senior squad, and you're playing Porto, man. And this is it. This is what if you want it, this is what dreams are made of. When you play the B team, this is what it fucking gets. This is it. This is it. So I want it. I would love to see, I tell you what,
I think
two things can happen. They go in there, they have a great game, regardless, not talking about result here. I'm talking about they go in, they have a great game, great, okay. Oh,
You're
they
talking
go
about
there, they
fourth,
have
right,
absolutely.
Luis? You're talking about the fourth game, correct?
Yeah, Porto, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The biggest challenge, real quickly though, and not to cut you off, is that I'm
No.
pretty sure there's rules around the when they're allowed to play. You know what I mean? Like if you just played a recent match, you can't play like within so many days, right? So
Yeah.
I thought
but they're not called up.
Yeah, that's like, for
well,
example,
they couldn't be called up. I don't think they could even be called up for the Porto game. Because I think they did, a lot of these B team guys just played, right? So they wouldn't have been.
Well, these guys that we're talking about, like Mbalo, no, but like that's why I brought up Ronaldo Camara, Tomas Tavares, and Paulo Bernardo. Paulo and Tomas are definitely going to get called up. They're training with the team, right? But Ronaldo Camara was a name that wasn't called up today at all, so he would be eligible. Again, he actually came off. I watched the Villafranquense game, but I didn't get to finish it. He came off. I'm not sure if he came off with any knocks or anything. I don't think so. I don't think so. Again. Right?
Nothing was said.
Yeah, so I think that he would.
He came on running. No, he was like jogging out. That's
what I thought. But he wasn't in the squad today, which someone pointed out on Twitter to me, and I was like, you know what? You're right. I would like to see even some of the guys on the bench, right? Like at some point, you're not going to have Tarap. Actually, is kind of a bad example because he's been on fire. But like Mate doesn't even deserve to be,
fuck is
dressing on game day. He doesn't deserve to be dressing on game day. There are guys like that Seth, I'm sorry, if Seth is like not going to be the guy that you're going to pull on, like I don't want him on the bench either. I want the bench to be, I want our roster on game days to be like, that's a squad that you have a plan for, right? Not just, okay, these are the 18 guys that we have available. And if things go bad, it's tough on Seth. Like,
yeah, I got it. Like from
that's
a contract.
That's how Sporting runs. That's how a lot of the clubs run.
Yeah, no, I also wouldn't be shocked to understand this comment to see these two start just because out of the injury situation, Almeida's going to be forced into the 11 with the injury situation, the red card situation. Like, you got no one in the back, so Almeida will be there unless he truly decides to throw him to the side. And Pizzi, yeah.
I don't know. You could make an 11 where Almeida doesn't and Pizzi don't play.
In my head, that's every 11. But in terms of
even with the injuries and everything, you can have a very.
I just think with the pressure, but it'd be bold if Verissimo does that on his first game and benches those two or doesn't even call them up. It'd be a nice statement made. It'd be like, okay, you got the manager out, but you're not going to get rewarded for the antics. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. These guys will get rewarded. It's like I don't like it.
He wasn't even playing like with JJ. I don't know why he didn't start.
But the thing is, like the back threes, and if you look at it, like, okay, Otamendi can't play. Verissimo's obviously out, right? It should be Vertonghen, Ferro, and Moratu. You would think, because let's face it. Did anyone not watch the fourth game? Because anyone that watched the game knows how Luis Diaz looked at Andre Almeida, laughed, and then blew by him every single time he wanted. Like, there's no competition there. He's slow.
Yeah.
You can't teach speed. You can't there are things,
especially at that age. At that age, you're not going to build up to anything else. It was a joke, man. It was a bad joke. And up to this match here, I was very bummed out. I think collectively in our own private chat, we were saying none of us were excited for this upcoming Porto match. It was very depressing. This just added a bit of a twist to it, and I think some of these guys might want to prove their worth. So we'll see. Will I be shocked if we lose? God, no. It's friggin' Porto away, especially with the disaster that's been happening. But, yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting that Alfredo had brought up is I think that, we're talking about Josh and him are both talking about four in the back. I think that it will happen, and I think that it should happen with Verissimo, right? I just don't know that that's going to happen right away. Like, I think that this Thursday match, I'm not sure how much influence he's going to have or how much he's going to want to change it up. I mean, the guy's personal life, I know he's very dedicated to the club, but he has to bury his mother, which is something,
Yeah, that is a big show. Actually, I completely forgot to mention that, but yeah, his mother just passed away. It's like the timing. So, yeah, I feel bad for the guy, man. It's
terrible, but I do think maybe it's against Pas in the next game, or maybe it's in the Taça da Liga against Boavista, right? But I think at one point we do see Benfica and Verissimo switch to four in the back. And that's assuming, we don't get any knocks. I think that's what should happen, right? Because we've been getting run through in the midfield against our rivals. And that's something that the 4-3-3, hypothetically could resolve. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens because Sporting can play with 3 in the back and the wing backs and all that stuff. With our squad and the way we play it, we just can't. So we need
Even
to,
though
switch
JJ
things
just
up.
got fired, I'm still like, what's the word? Confident. I'm still confident for the Ajax match. Like, I love that.
No, now we got time. We got time for that match. That's the
Yeah.
thing. We can try to figure out some kind of flow or feel.
We
And if
could
that's
sit
what that's the
down
one
and
thing
do
that none of us wanted the whole idea of George Hughes hung on and then he got fired before Ajax or got fired after Ajax. At least we have some time to try to build something up. But yeah, man, it'll be tough, man. It'll be tough. I wouldn't also be shocked because with his mother passing away, it just happened. The match is only tomorrow. It's tomorrow because it's the inmates running the asylum. It's the players.
Thursday. We still got 2 days.
2 days, yeah. But basically, you got the players dictating the terms in terms of what's going on at this club. And because everything that's happening had limited time to train, maybe, if the club, it sucks because you're possibly throwing a game away against Porto, which would suck. But you go, listen, you guys think you know better? Show us you know better. You're an embarrassment against Port. Do better. And if they don't, use that as saying, okay, clearly you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. And this is why you're going to now listen to a professional. This is why this guy's a manager and you're not. And if you don't like it, there's a door. And kind of like, there's no more excuses. But that kind of approach could also be a big loss. And it's only a 4-point gap, but it'll be a bigger gap, right? If we lose this game, it's a freaking train wreck, right? So
it's you go from if you win this game, right? Right now you're 4 points behind Sporting and Port. Let's just throw out Sporting right now. You're 1 point behind Port, and then anything could happen with Sporting.
Oh, yeah,
right?
you're in the race.
But
You're fully in the race.
If you lose, regardless of what happens with Sporting, because you still have another game against them. You still do have another game against Port at the end of the season, but you won't be able to, pull the double on Port. It won't be in your hands. You'll need someone else to do the dirty work. Right now, technically, you could beat Port twice and still finish ahead of them.
Yeah.
If you win out, it's in your hands. But that's all you look for is the second and a half of the season. One of the things we're going to be looking at a lot is going to be kind of measuring our expectations, right? Are we expecting Verisumu to bring us to second place? Because right now, he inherited a squad with a lot of internal problems that you would hope get resolved. But there were clearly some on-field problems as well, as we saw with the Sporting in the last Port game. So he's got some on-field stuff to resolve too. He's not going to be able to make too many changes in terms of personnel. He can bring up some youth guys, but I mean, at the end of the day, he is going to have to deal with a lot of the roster that he has. But it's going to be interesting to see if he can get us into that second place spot. Lest we forget, top 2 get guaranteed Champions League. Third place is the same as last year. We end up having to go through 2 rounds of qualifying matches, and that's going to be a lot of any manager to ask for, right? Especially a new guy with the squad. And I'm done with the Europa League. Done. We had a little taste, right? When I say not even sniffing the Champions League, I'm done with it, and I don't want to put the next manager, whoever that is, in that situation. And honestly, if we're being real, I think you're not going to attract the top-tier talent if you don't qualify for the Champions League. I think that's what.
You also can't afford it, right? Because that Champions League money is what pays those wages. I think. So I'm really hoping for this week is for Verissimo to just simplify. And if I was in charge right now, and I've got no badges, I've got no experience. So I've got limited experience. Local league coaching, no success, fired midway through the season sometimes. But I still put my name out there. No, I'm kidding. I think I would move it to a 4-4-2. Play very, very basic. I would take advantage of the fact that you've got, Vertonghen and Murato at center back. You can play, Gilbert and Grimaldo at the wing backs. Put Diogo Gonçalves at right mid. Put Gil Diaz at left mid. That puts a little bit of extra defensive emphasis in the midfield, and just play very basic. Put Rafa up front with Yaremchuk or Seferovic, whoever you decide to put up there, because Darwin's out, and just tell them to go out there and outwork them. Forget systems of play, because it's going to take a really long time. The biggest problem with this team is I don't know what their system is. I don't know what they believe in. Are they a counterattacking team that absorbs pressure? Are they a high block pressing team? Are they a possession team? They don't know. And when you watch, it's very disjointed, and it was really clear against Sporting. And it's very clear against Port again that, they're just going to get outworked because they don't have a system of play. There's no identity. So I think I would double down on saying, this is on you. Let's see if you've got any character, and take the next few months to see who are the character actors in this team, playing a very basic formation that's just about winning, do what it takes to win, and leave it there.
And honestly, when it comes down to it, it's a terrible thing, right? Obviously, the death of Verissimo's mother. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if I see someone who gets that call in the morning and still comes all the way from the north because he was there with the B team, right? Still comes down and trains the team and talks to the team. That takes a lot. That takes like true love. There's no one would have said a thing if he said, "Guys, today I can't." Like, have one today, or should someone else do it, guys?
Yeah.
Today, I'm sorry. Everyone would have understood. No one would have faulted him for it. Life tomorrow would go on, maybe even after Porth, right? Like they would have been like, "Hey, listen, that's a personal thing. You take care of it. We'll focus on the business at hand."
Yeah.
If I'm a player and see him in a locker room on Thursday, I'm not going to leave that. I don't want to feel any part of my body when I leave the pitch, right? Like you hope, because at that point, it's not about the club. That's about respect for a man. And that man's just so happens to be your new manager, right? But that's like more than, the game itself. That's playing for a person. So the effort, we talk a lot of times about, we need them to play for this game. We need like them to show up. If they don't show up on Thursday, I don't care about the rest of the season. You need a clean house. I'm already kind of at that point, right? We're already thinking about it. But if you can't show up for that game on Thursday, I want to see hard tackles. I don't want to see, anyone walking around. I don't want to see Rafa disappear. I hope Rafa knows that there's a game this Thursday.
You don't want the jog backtracking.
Correct. I want them sprinting every play. I want them to play like Gilbert does, like Otamendi does, like Darwin does.
Absolutely.
I think that's hopefully. Yeah, hopefully we'll see that. All right, guys, man. We'll call it a night because we'll keep going all night about this. We'll be back on in a couple of days. Year-end recap and Benfica's curse. It truly is.
That's the recap of 2021. Thanks,
confirm the curse is still there. Hey, Bing Bong.
Bing Bong.
I've Googled how to break a curse so many times I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah, but maybe. Porto gets overexcited for this match after they spank the heck out of us. They get over cocky, overconfident, and our guys go in, and every single guy gives it 110%. And a little luck, we get the result. But I think expectations are low. And sometimes when your expectations are that low, you can get a pleasant surprise. So let's hope we all get that surprise.
Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday, guys. But in the meantime, peace.
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 Benfica.